Not sure what to do when you've been to Paris before?
Welcome to our guide for a second
or third or fourth
visit to Paris.
We all know what the top 5 things to do in Paris are, but once you dig a little deeper, the other options can feel a bit overwhelming.
When we were planning this trip, I couldn't really find much information on what to do when it isn't your first trip to Paris. We certainly aren't uncovering any hidden gems. The spots we visited on this trip are still very popular.
You'll also notice that we couldn't help but visit some of the super famous spots like the Eiffel Tower, but keep watching if you want to see some great alternatives to spots like the Moulin Rouge.
We love staying in the Latin Quarter. Within a stone's throw or short stumble, you can find yourself sipping a coffee or champagne, or both, at the famous literary cafes Les Deux Margots and Café de Flores. You can also take a romantic stroll down the Seine and enjoy great views of Notre Dame and the refurbishment works that are being carried out after its unfortunate fire. Saint-Germain is known as being the heart of the left bank, and this is always our top choice of where to stay when in Paris, as everything is at your doorstep, whether it's cafes, galleries, theatres, street markets, or even the Luxembourg Gardens. Everything is so close. Having stayed in basic and comfortable hotels in the 6th arrondissement previously, this time we thought we'd step it up a notch or two and stay at the famous Hôtel d'Ober. This 5-star hotel is a converted 17th century mansion and has retained its historic beauty, charm and grandeur.
I have always wanted to see the infamous Shakespeare Co bookstore, so we popped in while taking our walk around Saint-Germain. Shakespeare Co has been known as a bohemian haven for readers and writers for decades, including the likes of Hemingway and Fitzgerald. As a bit of a bookworm myself, it was super cool to spend some time in this eccentric store.
So we're on our way to our favourite stop that we go to every first night in Paris. It's Relais L'Entrecôte. Definitely not a hidden gem.
Delicious steak frites. I look forward to it every time. It just keeps us awake after our long flight. Make sure we can get through dinner without falling asleep because I look forward to it so much.
So it opens in 45 minutes, so hopefully we're not at the back of a long queue.
Yeah, you got to get there like half an hour, 45 minutes before it opens to be able to get in on the first sitting.
Worth the wait. Good morning, it is our first full day in Paris. We're so excited to be here.
We are, and we've got a very jam-packed first full day as well.
So it's not the first time we're coming to Paris, it's my 6th or 7th and Peter's 3rd or 4th. So we're going to do some things here that you wouldn't necessarily do on your first trip to Paris. So a bit of a guide for a 2nd or 3rd visit. We're really excited. We're going to go to Musée d'Orsay.
Musée d'Orsay and then Musee Nissim.
Yeah. So we've got a museum jam-packed day.
And then Crazy Horse burlesque show tonight.
Very exciting. Hopefully we don't have any jet lag.
It might be a good way to keep us awake with the excitement of the show. Because I think we'll be up till 1 in the morning, I'm guessing, by the time the show finishes. So yeah, a very big first full day, but we'll push through.
So we're just out front of Musée d'Orsay, which is a really cool museum that houses the biggest impressionist collection in the whole world. It's in such a beautiful building. It used to be a train station, Gare d'Orsay. We're going to do a guided art tour, so we'll bring you along with us.
Speaking of clocks, one of the most sought after places in Musée d'Orsay is the giant clock that overlooks the Seine. Often being overwhelmed at museums and not wanting to miss any of the important pieces, we chose to do an hour and 45 minute skip the line impressionist guided tour, and this was well worth the 100 Aussie dollars each that it cost. We got a chance to see the priceless pieces such as Van Gogh's Starry Nights, Monet's Water Lilies, amongst others.
As much as we try to stay away, the allure of a perfect hot chocolate is just too strong, and we find ourselves at Angelinas every single time we visit Paris. The line does look intimidating, but we are always seated within 20 minutes or so. This tea room has a long-standing history dating all the way back to 1903. We love resting our feet here after visiting one of the many nearby museums.
After our quick recharge at Angelinas, we were ready to keep exploring and wandering the streets of Paris. And what beautiful streets they are. We window shopped around the famous designer jewellery stores of Place Vendôme, admiring the things we certainly can't afford yet. So we've just come to somewhere a little bit different in Paris, and that's Musee Nissim, which is named after Nissim Commando, which this house was owned by the Commando family and then donated to the art gallery after his unfortunate passing in the war. But it was full of beautiful 18th century furniture, and the mansion itself is just ridiculously beautiful, so certainly worth coming and checking it out. But it was modelled on, was it the Petit Trianon in Versailles? So yeah, super, super beautiful.
After our long but wonderful first full day, we had an amazing meal at Colvert restaurant in the Latin Quarter. The vibe here was elegant and casual, and the food was so good. The menu focused on fresh produce and was one of the best meals we've had in Paris.
We've had a bit of a slower start to our morning today. We had Crazy Horse last night and had a bottle of champagne, and the jet lag caught up with us, so we zonked afterwards. So we'll give our wrap up of it now.
Yeah, it was so much fun. We picked it as a bit of an alternative to Moulin Rouge,
Which I haven't been to, so I can't really compare between the two, but you've been to both, so what were your thoughts?
I would still recommend if you're a first timer coming to Paris to go to Moulin Rouge, but Crazy Horse was definitely a great second stop.
I was a big fan of the pageantry and choreography. It was very enjoyable.
Yeah, it was like a bit of a light show / burlesque. It was really cool. Definitely more risque than I was expecting.
Plenty of nudity.
But it was a really fun night.
It was a good night. It was a lot of fun.
We have just climbed the 284 steps to the top of the Arc de Triomphe.
Felt every single one of them too. We certainly worked off our breakfast this morning.
So it's one of the most famous monuments here in Paris, and in my opinion has the best view of the Eiffel Tower. It's up on the west end of the Champs-Élysées, and it's certainly worth a visit.
Yeah, I don't think too many people would argue with your view that it's the best viewpoint in all of Paris. It is sensational.
So close to the Eiffel Tower, but far enough that you can capture her in all of her beauty.
After the beautiful high viewpoints of Arc de Triomphe, it was time to go back underground and use the metro to get to Galeries Lafayette. The metro was a great and convenient way for us to get around to most places within Paris, although we'd usually just buy a single ticket one way in case we got tired and wanted to get an Uber on the way back, which were also reasonably priced. Stepping into Grace's playground, the famous shopping department store, Galeries Lafayette, she was quickly distracted by clothes and sunglasses, while I got to marvel at the mesmerising ornate glass domed roof leading down to the golden arches and balustrades of each of the shopping levels. This is certainly unlike any shopping store we have back home.
After a few hours of shopping, we headed up to the terrace. I'm a sucker for a rooftop view, and the terrace at Galeries Lafayette did not disappoint. This has to be one of the best rooftops in Paris, with the imposing Palais Garnier in the forefront and the Eiffel Tower in the distance. We decided to take a break after our busy morning at a restaurant bar called Creatures on the Terrace. The food here is Israeli inspired and was really delicious. We will definitely be revisiting this spot.
We were excited to go to the Petit Palais, but unfortunately, even for well-planned travellers like us, we forgot to check whether it was open or not, and being a Monday, it was closed. It was lovely to see from the outside, but next time we're in Paris, we'd love to come back and see the museum properly.
As good as La Durée?
It was about 2 years since I had La Durée, so not fair to compare, but yeah, the lemon's lovely. So we've just finished up at Napoleon's tomb, where we're walking across Pont Alexandre and saw the gilded rooftop of his tomb, and we weren't actually going to go and see it, but we thought, you know what, we're so close now, so let's go and have a look through, even though we'd done it, 4 years ago? Which it was free back then, and now it costs about €15 per person, but that's okay. But it's really grandiose, as you can imagine, with Napoleon, so super overdone, super high ceilings, and you've got this massive casket which you can see from the viewing point, and then also just walk around and do a loop around the casket as well. But his brothers are buried there with him, really worth doing. After a long day exploring the city, we thought we'd stop off for a quick cocktail at our favourite cocktail bar, Bisous. They don't have a menu, you just tell them what base spirit you want and what flavours you like in a cocktail, and each time they bring you out a unique drink.
We decided to deviate from the typical French food for a night and grab some pasta at Ober in Marais. We really enjoyed trying the fan favourite truffle pasta and tiramisu and left absolutely stuffed to the brim.
We couldn't fit all of our fun adventures in this one vlog, so watch out for part 2 as we continue to explore Paris in the summertime. Thanks for watching. To keep following along, please like the video and subscribe to our page below.